All right, Mike Bohn here with UFC strawweight contender Michelle Waterson. Michelle, you were supposed to be fighting in Portland against Carla Esparza. Can you just kind of give us the latest on that? I know the event was postponed, but is there any possibility this fight still happens in the near future?
I mean, I sure hope so. I kind of don't really know what to expect for the near future for anything. And so I'm just staying in shape. Luckily, I have an amazing house to quarantine in, and my husband is an amazing coach. So just between the two of us, we're still able to get good workouts in and stay in shape. So we're staying in shape and just kind of waiting to hear some good news.
Yeah, because you see Carla on social media. She said she's still training for, the possibility to want to keep fighting or something like that. What kind of communication has the UFC given you, though? Are they basically saying to keep preparing and be on standby? Is there any possibility they want you on this April 18th card?
I haven't heard anything. But anything can happen at this point. I know that Dana is working really hard, and honestly think that his main objective is to get this April 18th card up and going. And so everything else that happened prior to that, I think, is just gonna they're just gonna try to fill in the slots when the floodgates open. So, I'm hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. So it's kind of all we can do. There's a lot of stuff that we are having to take care of here at home. My daughter is no longer going to school, so I am having to homeschool her now, which takes up a lot of my time. And my mom is here. She normally comes down with us to help me prepare for the camps. And if anything, that's one of my biggest concerns at the moment, because my mom is older and does have some prior health issues. So I want to keep her safe and keep her healthy. And, sometimes there are things that are bigger than yourself that has to take precedent.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to ask that, like, would you even feel comfortable, given all those things you said, fighting in these times under these circumstances? Or do you think it's better to just kind of be patient and let this thing ride out?
I mean, that's hard to say because it is my career. It's that's how I make a living. That's how I feed my family. That's how I bring, money to the table. And so, if selfishly, I would like to be able to fight so that I can, pay my bills and be able to continue to help support my family. But on the other end, it's like there are things that are out of my control, and sometimes when you try to force something that isn't supposed to be forced, it makes things worse than what they were before. And so I'm just trying to make the best out of the situation, take advantage of the time that I have with my family here at home, and still stay grinding.
Yeah, of course. And you mentioned, you have some ability to work out at home with your husband and everything. The gym is closed, right? Jackson Wink is not open for anyone.
Yeah, it's closed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is it basically just you and your husband, Josh, working out, or do you have any interaction with anyone else?
At the very beginning, when it was just very kind of open and they weren't really talking, I don't even remember. It wasn't like completely shut down, but they were just saying, make sure you wash your hands, this and that, and make sure that you're in a group with 50 people or less. Then I was able to go to the gym still, and we were still training. We were just being a lot more cautious, making sure that we were clean before we went in, making sure that we all showered afterwards, making sure that all our gear was clean and all that stuff. And then they just kind of put a halt to everything. And I miss my teammates, I miss my coaches, I miss the team camaraderie. But like, if there's anything that fighting has taught me, it's that you have to learn and adapt from your situations, and then that's just what we're doing.
Yeah, and obviously you have a family and stuff to be around. I know you fighters are such creatures of habit. You get in your routines and everything, especially in a training camp. Is just the lifestyle adjustment of having to be at home all the time and do all this like difficult for you at all?
No, I wouldn't say it's difficult. Like I said, that's why I love fighting, is because it prepares you for things outside of fighting. As a fighter, you have to be prepared for the unexpected, and this is definitely one of those things. Yeah, basically when you go into fight camp, it's like going into quarantine. You can't do nothing. You can't have a drink. You can't go party. But I would say, my daughter is going a bit stir crazy. My mom too. She wants to get out of the house so bad, but she can't. So she's just and that's hard too, because the thing that she does to keep herself calm is cook, and then I eat her food because it's delicious, and then I'm moving up to 125 pounds.
Right, and you mentioned having to homeschool your daughter as well. What's that like? Is that being a challenging adjustment for you?
For sure, I love, my daughter's very smart, and but it's just having to wear a different hat. You understand, because she's very receptive to me as a mother, and as a mentor in certain aspects of her life. But as a teacher, she has her own teacher, and so when I try to step into that role, there's definitely a bit of a learning curve on both of our ends, because when I try to explain stuff to her, it's not how the teacher explains it to her. So she's like, whatever.
Yeah. Is it difficult to explain to her kind of what's going on in the world right now too? Because obviously, this is something that even people older than us, they've never been through anything like this in their lifetime. So it's kind of hard to guide the younger generation when no one has experienced anything like this themselves.
All I tell her is that it could be worse. It honestly, it really could be worse. What they are asking us to do is stay home with our loved ones so that we don't get sick. Like, that is not a huge sacrifice, and so she has to learn how to sacrifice. And if you can't sacrifice staying home for a couple of weeks and not seeing your friends, so that you don't see this thing spread and really change your world, then you don't have any patience, and that's what you need to learn. So it's just a teaching experience for her, a teaching moment.
Yeah, and someone who did seem to have a little bit of a problem with that. We saw what happened with Jon Jones, who left his house just in the past few minutes. News came out he had a plea agreement. It's going to be like 1 year probation, all this kind of stuff. Not going to be any jail time. But as a teammate, someone who's in the same city, when you saw that come out, what was your reaction?
I love John, and I wish the best for him and his family. He's done nothing but be really supportive of me and my career and my family and the team. Is a great guy. I don't know what is happening in his personal life, and honestly, it's none of my business. He's always been there for me, and I will always be here to support him in his life. Obviously, when things like that happen, there are deeper issues, and it is not anyone's place to judge what is going on in his life.
Yeah, fair enough. And to get back to you, we haven't spoke to you much since the fight with Jana that you had back in October. I know you were really upset the night of and everything, but with some hindsight, some time to reflect, probably watch and everything. What are your kind of feelings on that fight now?
Yeah, it took me a while to even build up the courage to rewatch the fight, just because there was so much riding on that fight and on the way that it happened. There was a huge letdown for me, and I think when you lose, you don't give yourself enough credit. You only see the loss, and you don't give it's not like a scoreboard where it's like, okay, 80, 100, you're almost won. I know that we went 5 rounds and they gave those scores, but there's so much that happens within a fight that, the average fan and even the judges, commentators, don't see. And so after I watched the fight back with my husband, I was able to walk away, with my head held high. I think that there are definitely things that I can improve on. There's always things that I can improve on. But after watching the fight, I do know that I belong at the top of the division, and I'm literally inches away from that belt. And when you are competing against girls at that high of a caliber, it is just an inch to the left or an inch to the right that will determine whether you win or lose. And seeing that war with Joanna and Wade Lee, I just honestly, I'm incredibly proud of the strawweight division. Every time that the strawweights fight, we bring it and we put on a show, regardless of which strawweight you fight. I think that that definitely we bring the heat.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did seeing Joanna's performance against Zhang in that title fight and how close it was, scoring at cage side on the night of the fight, I thought she won. It was really, really close though, but like to see how competitive she was with the champion and how competitive you were with her, that must kind of enhance that position even more to know where you stand.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, styles make fights. That when you step into the octagon, everything has to fall into place in order for you to win. You have to be, 100% in the zone, and things just have to be flowing. And I'll get my chance again. But yeah, definitely it was. When my husband and I watched the fight between Wade Lee and Joanna, we were so entertained. I was on the edge of my chair the whole time. It was just like one of those like nail biters where you're like playing the video game and you're like, you're like doing one of those things, and I felt like I was in the octagon with him. It was just so entertaining, and so in my opinion, none of those ladies walk away with the loss that night. I thought that they both, showed the heart of a champion, but definitely I would give I did edge it to Joanna before they called the scorecards. I can understand why they would give it to Wei Li because of the amount of damage that Joanna took towards the end of the fight. And so, like I said, going away from that fight, I think that both of the ladies win.
Yeah, were you seeing the hematoma on Joanna? Is that the worst you've seen in the fight game?
I mean, that's no question, And I was kind of talking to Josh about that. I feel like it's just all of, we all have different body types. Some of us cut, some of us swell, and depending on our skin type, depending on our history, depending on the amount of callus we have on our face, really shows that. And Joanna has had a history of swelling. I never really seen her cut open unless it was her bleeding from a nosebleed, but she does have a history of swelling. And so it's just over time, I think it's just a natural thing to happen.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds me of like George St. Pierre. Like he would go in and dominate all his fights, but he looked like he got in a car crash after the fact just because his skin, he would bruise so easily and stuff. So definitely an interesting point there. But I guess just to kind of start wrapping things up here. So you're kind of on standby. Is your hope to still fight Carla next? Is that like what you're targeting, what you're hoping for?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to fight Carla. I mean, her and I have been in the game for quite a long time. She was the Invicta champ. When I was still fighting atom weight, she's the first UFC champ. I would love to get a crack at her and test my skills against her.
Yeah, and in kind of the polar opposite style matchup, Joanna, who you just fought, obviously wants to strike. Carla's going to probably want to wrestle, I assume. So that's kind of two different challenges there.
Yeah, and you never know. It's MMA, and I think Carla's really been working hard on brushing up on her boxing and trying to be more well-rounded. So I look forward to fighting the best Carla.
Yeah, and perfect world, any like for timeline? I mean, I'm sure you'd like to get in there as soon as possible, but kind of being realistic, do you think you fight, during the summer? Is it going to be longer than that? Do you have any gut feeling?
My gut says May.
Okay.
What do you think?
Hey, I hope that would be great, but I just don't know. It's kind of so much stuff is up in the air. They're putting a lot of effort into making this April 18th fight happening when everyone else is kind of just seeming like they're putting safety first. So I think there is some criticism to be had for the UFC, but I know they're trying to give fighters opportunities as well.
And that's the thing. It's like it's a double-edged sword. It's kind of like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Mm-hmm. And so I understand both sides of it. I was going to propose to Carla, maybe her and I do a virtual fight and see how that goes. But I don't know who would get to judge that.
You can always play yourselves in the UFC game too.
Yeah, maybe we should do that just for the fun of it.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that all gets sorted soon. I really appreciate you taking some time, Michelle, and hopefully we can see you back in there fighting soon.
All right, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right, you too.